Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another cooking video. Today we're going to be focusing on Shabbos cooking. I know it's been a little while since I've done that and I'm excited to bring you guys along again. So for now I've already started some sourdough. I am boiling some water. We're going to make our challah now and we're going to make, let me get my list. So we're going to be making 6 different dips and salads. We're going to make a tomato dip, baba ganoush, a mayo, a jalapeno garlic confit, chili onion crunch, which I believe that I have actually still, I have to check, and some tahini. I'm gonna make a side of salmon, one that I haven't made with you guys yet. And then chicken soup and noodles I have in my freezer, so tomorrow when we heat that up before Shabbos starts, I'll get that out of the freezer. And then we're gonna make some beef jerky, kugel, challah, green beans, and an apple pie for dessert. So let's get right into it. My water came up to temperature, so we're going to measure that out and we're going to get to cooking. So we're going to start off with 5 cups of water, which we're going to divide. 1 cup in here, which we're going to let cool off a little bit before we add the yeast in there. And the remaining 4 cups we'll set aside to be able to finish off the dough. So I'm going to measure out the yeast so that as soon as our water is a good temperature, we can just add that in. We're going to need salt. Next, I'm going to pre-measure our oil. And next, I've got 4 eggs that I have cracked into this bowl here. Okay. And I have a 5-pound bag of flour ready to go. And I need sugar. How did I miss the sugar? Okay, and I've got my sugar. So now I'll feel the water. It feels like it's a good temperature. So I'm going to get my yeast. I'm going to sprinkle it around. And now I'll get about a tablespoon of sugar and sprinkle that on top. It'll help start the proofing process. Okay, now that I know that the yeast is good, it's nice and active, I will start adding ingredients, but let me get the cover first actually. So we're going to start off first with some flour. We're going to let it come together with a little bit of water that's in there. Now we're going to add in our sugar, our eggs, and the oil. And then I'll alternate adding the flour and the water. And once that is all in and it starts combining, I'll add in our salt. So as this dough is coming together, I see that it is not very hydrated, the dough. Now this is the first time I'm using this flour. So now that I've already eaten it, I can tell you that it has a different hydration level. And next time I would have to add a bit more liquid. But over here you can see that I'm adding a bit more oil that has settled on the bottom of the cup that I had used to measure it out. And once I'm happy with the consistency of it, I am adding the salt and I'm letting it mix until it's nice and an elastic dough. So while the challah dough is going and I have hot water, we're going to make a tea essence that we love. So to make this tea essence, we're going to start off with a very concentrated tea brew. So we're not just going to brew a tea bag by itself. We're going to add some more flavors into this brew as well. So the first thing we're doing is I cut up an orange into some wedges. And I'm going to stick some cloves in there because I don't want the cloves floating around in the brew. Like that, it'll be easier to remove it when the time comes to having to take this all out. Now, I had a little bit of an accident with the challah dough as it was mixing, and I had to hold the cover down on the Bosch machine as it was mixing and forming the dough. So I am holding that down with one hand and putting the cloves in with the other. So it's a little bit awkward, but I managed to do it. Yeah, so once that is done, I'm going to start opening up the tea bags itself. And I am using a combination. I think over here I used mango passion fruit and fruit galore, but you can use, and the recipe actually just calls for the fruit galore, but you can use any flavored tea that you have in the house. The more flavorful combination, the better it is. And I like to remove the little paper tab at the end of the tea bag because the whole thing will be submerged in the liquid, and I don't want that in there. It's not like when you're brewing a traditional tea and you let it just hang out of the cup. So I remove those paper ends. And the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to get out a cinnamon stick, and we're going to get all of this into a boil bag. So if you have cheesecloth, you can wrap it in that to submerge in the water. I happen to use the wrap and boil bags that I use for chicken soup, and it works very good. But I'm not happy with the fact that I end up throwing it away, and I feel like it doesn't get the maximum usage that I could, so I'm looking into buying some cheesecloth that I can reuse every time because it's something that I've come to make so often. I made it the first time for Sukkot, which is a month ago already by now, and I'm telling you, I've had this in my fridge ever since. I keep making it again and again and again. My family just absolutely loves this. So now that my tea bag is ready, I'm going to call this my tea bag, I am getting a cup of my hot water into a jar, and then I'm going to get my tea bag and submerge it in this liquid. I'm going to push it down a little bit to make sure that the most of the contents of the bag are submerged in the water so that we can get extract the most flavor possible into our tea essence. And we're going to let this sit for an hour, and then we're going to continue on with it. Okay, we're going to work on a dessert while our tea is going because I already have I have half of our dessert ready to go. I'm making an apple pie or apple tart, and the recipe does say to bake it in a mini tart, but we're going to do it in a big shell and cut slices. So this is the apple pie filling. We're going to make a crumb topping to go with it. We're going to start off with some flour, some brown sugar, some white sugar, cinnamon, and a stick of margarine. Now we can combine this to form the crumb. I think I'm gonna have to do it with my hand. So as long as I don't see like dry chunks on the bottom, like just dry flour and sugar, then that's good. And it's coming together like very sticky, very tacky. So as I'm gonna top our pie, I'm gonna break it apart more to make it into crumbs. I've cleaned myself up a bit. Now we can set aside this board because we're pre-baking our crust. When it comes out of the oven, I need a cooling rack here. Okay, so I have my pre-baked shells out of the oven. We're going to add in our apple mixture. Maybe I should have just done one. Actually, I think we're good. The apple filling is made out of grated Cortland apples, lemon juice, sugar, flour, and cinnamon. I would try it next time with diced apples instead of grated and see how the different texture, how it affects the texture and the taste of the pie. Now I'm gonna get my crumbs and I'm gonna break it up even more as I top our pies. Okay, these can now go back into the oven. So I baked these pies for 45 minutes because that's what it says in the recipe, but I'm looking now and it says that for a 9-inch pie shell, which I used over here, you should bake it for 1.5 hours. So it's been quite a little bit of time right now. I have eaten dinner. The dough has fully risen, so it is ready to be braided. First thing I do whenever I make challah is I take off a piece and we set it aside. We make a blessing on it, a bracha, and I set it aside. Once that is done, I can actually start braiding the challah. And like I said earlier, I used a different flour for the first time here, and I still need to get better at using this flour. It has a different absorption rate, so it absorbs the water differently. And so this dough, I only got 9 challahs out of it. Usually I get 10. So maybe next time I make challah, I'll add a little bit more water and it'll be better. So what I do is I just remove a chunk of it. I just know by feel how much it is. Maybe next time I do this, I'll try to weigh it out for you guys. A thought for my next Shabbos video. Once I have that chunk of dough, I will divide it into 4, which is about palm size. Each of these 4 little dough balls is about palm size. I'll take each of these 4 little dough balls and I roll them into a log. Once I have 4 logs, I will hinge them at the top and I mentally number each log from 1 to 4. So I'm going to number them from 1 to 4 from my left hand side to my right hand side. So for you, it's from top to bottom. So as I'm pinching them together, it's going 1, 2, this is number 3, and then number 4. Now these numbers are going to shift as we're braiding them. So we're going to lift number 3 first, and we're going to bring number 1 under number 3, over number 2, under number 3, over number 4. Now I'm going to bring number 1 down, and now we're changing again. So from the left hand side, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to repeat this pattern. Lift 3, bring 1 over 2, under 3, over 4. And that number 1 now becomes number 4. So number 2 and number 4 never get touched until they shift numbers. Okay? So you lift number 3, take number 1. It goes over 2, under 3, over 4. And now the numbers change. 2 becomes 1, 3 becomes 2, 4 becomes 3, and 1 becomes 4. When you're done, pinch the ends. You can lift it up, bring it a little, like you can see I bring it in a little bit, and then it could go into the pan until we're ready to brush the egg wash and bake it. So here I have a different angle for you guys where my left is your right. And you can see I'm lifting number 3, bringing 1 over 2, under 3, over 4, and then they all shift numbers. Okay? Lift number 1, over number 2, under number 3, over number 4. Pinch the end and put it into the pan.
Because I feel like it's very little.
Now while I finish braiding the rest of the dough, I have a helper in the kitchen. She is putting the egg wash over top of the challahs, and she's going to sprinkle the sesame seeds as well. Once I have everything braided, egg washed, and sprinkled with sesame seeds, they are ready to go into the oven. At this point, it was perfect timing. Our apple tarts are ready to come out of the oven, and we're going to put our challah in. Now, usually I do bake my challah on 175 for 10 minutes to help finish the rising because I usually don't let it rise after I braid the challah, which most traditional recipes will tell you to do that. This is just like a shortcut version where you just let it rise for 50 minutes before you braid, and then you braid it and bake it. But since my oven was already at 350 for the tart shells, for the apple tarts, I'm just putting it into a 350 oven, and I baked it, I believe, for 40 minutes, and it came out perfect. Okay, so you saw our challah just went into the oven. We got the apple pies out, which was perfect timing, and now we can finish off our tea. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our mesh bag with all the yumminess in it. And we're going to try to get out the most of the juice as possible. And to finish this off, we're going to add a bit of sugar, some honey. And I'm going to stir this to make sure that the sugar and honey are dissolved and any of the residual heat from the hot water. Now we're going to add in some cranberry juice and a little bit of lemon juice. We're going to give this one final mix, and then this can get covered and go into the fridge, and whenever we want to drink this, we'll just take a little bit of this tea, add hot water, and enjoy a delicious, flavorful tea. Next thing I'll be working on is making the baba ganoush. So I'm going to start by fire roasting an eggplant. So the best way that I like to roast it, I feel like it has the most flavor in the end product, is by roasting it on the fire. And to make sure that the juices don't make a mess, I wrap them up in foil. And you saw that I did one piece of foil, and I'm going to do the second one, and I wrap it in opposite directions so that it traps the juices and it traps the heat in there. Now I'm going to put it on my biggest flame, get it on the biggest fire, and I'm going to roast it as if it has 4 sides, and each side for 20 minutes. The next thing we're going to be working on is our fish. So we're going to heat up a bit of olive oil in a pan. Once that is hot, you can add some minced garlic. I'm actually crushing it. And my oil was pretty hot, so this garlic became fragrant in seconds. But the recipe does say that it should take about 1 to 2 minutes. Then we're going to add in some liquid aminos and honey and some lemon juice, which I think I forgot because my recipe tasted quite a bit different than I remembered. It wasn't as flavorful, and as I'm reading this right now, I'm like, I think I forgot the lemon juice. So it was still good, but not as flavorful as I remember, like I said. So we're gonna let this, I'm gonna mix it to make sure that the honey is fully dissolved. And then I'm gonna let this come to a simmer, and we're gonna let it cook down for about 2 to 3 minutes, stirring occasionally until it is just slightly thickened. And then we can remove it from the heat and let it cool for a couple of minutes. While we're waiting for the glaze to cool, I'm gonna work on the jalapeno garlic confit so that it can bake in the oven the same time as the fish does. So 2 changes that I'm making here to the way that I used to make it is that, number 1, I am making a smaller version, a smaller batch of it. And number 2 is I'm not going to do all the spices that I usually do. If you want to see how I make it, I can link it for you right over here, the video where I show you how I used to do it. So I am cutting up 2 jalapenos and 3 spicy red peppers over here, cutting it into rings. Now you can use any spicy peppers that you have or that you like, or you can do bell peppers if you don't like spicy, or you can do just plain garlic, but you can play around with whatever veggies you and your family like and just put that in, because confit is very versatile. You can make anything in the confit. It's technically just a method of baking. You're baking it in oil. Once I have all my peppers prepped, I am going to peel the garlic. Now this garlic that I'm using here is a combination of garlic that I grew in my garden and garlic that I planted in my garden for next year. The garlic from the ones that I planted are ones that are either the peel came off or cracked as I was opening it up to plant it, or it's like the center small cloves that I didn't want to plant. Once I have that in the pan as well, pan, cookware, whatever you want to call this, oven safe dish. That's what it is, oven safe dish. Then I'm going to pour some olive oil over top. You can use avocado oil or any which oil you want to use. I'm going to pour that over top to cover all, make sure that all of the vegetables are submerged in the oil. And then I'm going to just add salt and pepper. You can do sea salt, you can do kosher salt. And again, just like with the peppers, you can play around with the spices and add whatever you want, however much you want. Very versatile. So I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees and it has already reached temperature and the glaze has cooled down enough where I can pour that over the fish. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to put both the fish and the confit into the oven at the same time, and they're going to bake roughly the same amount of time. The confit will go in for somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, and the fish, the recipe gives a time, but it does pull for slices, and I made a side. So I'm going to bake it until the internal temperature is 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Next thing we'll be working on is our dips, and we're going to start off with our tomato dip. I bought this bag of tomatoes. It's like small Roma tomatoes in the store. So I'm adding just the entire bag into my food processor, and I'm going to put in, I think I did 3 garlics over here, and then I just do salt and pepper. I turn on the food processor, and as it's blending, I am drizzling in somewhere between a quarter cup and a half a cup of oil probably, and I let it blend a nice long time. And while that is going, we're also going to start prepping our mayonnaise. So like I said, while the tomato dip is blending, we're going to make our mayonnaise. So I'm starting off with 1.5 cups of extra light olive oil. You can use canola oil as well, olive oil, avocado oil, whatever oil you want. Next, I'm going to add in 1 egg plus an egg yolk. I'm going to add some lemon juice, kosher salt, and black pepper. And before I blend this up, our tomato dip is done. So we're going to get that into a jar. Yeah. Now to blend up the mayonnaise, I'm going to get my immersion blender, stick it all the way down, turn it on, and then slowly bring it up until it's all nice and emulsified. The next thing we'll be making is our baba ganoush. So at this point, our eggplant has already roasted and cooled down. So I'm going to open up the foil. I'm going to cut it into the skin of the eggplant. I'll make a slit so that I can access the meat inside. I'm going to use a spoon to get it all out and into the food processor. For spices, I am adding salt and garlic powder. And I have made it in the past with some roasted garlic, which it is delicious. I don't know why I haven't made it again, because my family loved it. I should make it again. Mental note. And the last thing to go in is some mayonnaise. Then you'll just blend it up just a couple seconds to get it nice and smooth. If there's any meat of the eggplant stuck on the side of the bowl, just scrape it down, blend it another few seconds, and then it's ready to go in a container or jar. The next and final dip that we will be making in this video is some tahini, because I already have the chili onion crunch in my pantry. I didn't update you guys. So we're starting off with some tahini paste that I'm getting into the bowl of my food processor. Next up, I'm going to squeeze some fresh lemon directly into the bowl. I'm going to add some olive oil and some fresh garlic. I'm going to peel and just add in there. The recipe does say to mince the garlic. I find that the blender has no issue blending it up, and I don't find chunks of garlic left over in the tahini. It blends it up fine. I'm going to add some salt and pepper and I am prepping a cup of water to add in as it's blending. I'll turn on the blender, and once I see that it's combined, I will start drizzling in the water, and when it looks nice and fluffy and airy, I'll turn over the machine. And again, this doesn't take very long. It takes just a few seconds after I add in the water, and it's perfect. And again, this can be transferred into a container or jar. Now the 4 dips that needed a blender are done. I am going to cover it and label them and get them into the fridge. The last thing I'll be making to finish off this cooking night is the challah. So for this, I do it in my crock pot. I start off with some water on the bottom, and I add my crock pot liner over top. This helps prevent the bag from sticking to the pot. Next up, I'm going to add some onions that I have diced up. Oh, I turned the knob to make sure that it's on low. Now I'm going to add in some beans. Now I have here a mix of beans that I grew in my garden. And this beans that I have over here is a little bit more than I would have made my challah with. So I just decided to do the whole thing, and I added some barley that I had in my pantry. For spices, I'm doing salt, pepper, onion, garlic, paprika, crushed red pepper, which I'm going to get now, cayenne pepper, umami, which is a mushroom-based spice, but what it does is it adds flavor as if I browned something, as if I browned the onions, or if you would do meat as if you browned the meat. So it adds that additional depth of flavor. Then I'm adding some date syrup, or salmon, and soy sauce. Now I forgot to add some potatoes earlier, so I peeled and diced up a potato, and I'm going to add water till the amount that I feel like I need. I do roughly about 3/4 of it full with water, and we're going to let this cook for roughly 36 hours. Actually, the last thing we're doing today is we're marinating some beef for the beef jerky. So I have a pound of Chinese pepper steak. I'm going to get it into a bag with 4 ounces of this bottled beef jerky marinade that I found in the store. And we're going to let this sit overnight. And we're going to bake this first thing in the morning. Now it is the next morning, and it is time to bake up our jerky. So I took the jerky out of the fridge, and I'm going to remove the meat from the marinade, from the liquid. I'm going to lay it single layer on our lined cookie sheet. This will then bake in a 200-degree oven for 1 hour on each side. So a total of 2 hours. After 1 hour, flip it over and continue baking for another hour. Now, one thing to note with this jerky is that fresh out of the oven, or if you eat it within 2 hours, this marinade is delicious. When we ate this later on in the day, and especially in the evening, then it lost some of the flavor. Like the first time that I made it, we ate it the next day. I put it in the fridge and we ate it the next day, and it was so much better than when we ate this fresh later in the day. The reason for that is because last time I made it, I forgot that I bought the sauce, and I started following a recipe that I had found online. And the first ingredient for that recipe was a 1/4 cup of soy sauce for the amount of beef that I had. And I started with that, and I was like, hey, I bought the marinade. I don't have to do this. So I just added the marinade to the soy sauce, and that's how I marinated the pepper steak. So the vote in my family is that next time I should make it that way again with the soy sauce. So I'm just letting you know, if you buy this this marinade, which I will have linked for you down below, then add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce if you want it to taste better. In my opinion, better. While the jerky is in the oven, we're going to work on some green beans or string beans. So I got my wok very hot. I added oil and a bunch of minced garlic. We're going to let the garlic cook down for 2 to 3 minutes until fragrant and no longer raw. Once we've reached that point, I have a bag of frozen green beans that I have from my garden. I took some green beans from my garden and I just froze it. I didn't even blanch it, and it was really good. I'm adding some kosher salt, some black pepper, and use a rubber spatula because you want to make sure that you're not breaking up those string beans as they're tenderizing. And I see that I have some beef marinade on my hand over there. And stir together until the garlic coats all of the green beans and is not sitting on the bottom of the pan. And then let it sit for 4 to 5 minutes and then mix it. And do that until it cooks for about 20 minutes. And about a third of the beans are looking nice and crispy. And you'll see how after the first time letting it rest, to like now, the first time I'm stirring it, it has some beautiful color. Those beans that were sitting on the bottom, this gorgeous color. And the reason why I like using the wok is you can see all that steam just going out of the pan. You don't want it being trapped inside. You want all of that to escape. And then you'll see that the next time I stir it, all the garlic also has beautiful color on there. And the beans itself are gorgeous, vibrant green. And they look beautiful, beautiful. And to finish it off, we're just gonna drizzle some soy sauce over all of this. And we're gonna keep on mixing it. Cook it for about 3 to 5 minutes until the soy sauce has thickened and reduced and coats all of the string beans. Now this recipe is something that my family absolutely loves. Every time I make it, it is gone within minutes. Like I had to keep myself back from not eating all of it right when I finished making it. It was really, really delicious. Next thing we'll be making is the potato kugel, which I know that I've already made with you in the past, so I'm just gonna tell you what I do, show you very quickly, run through it. We won't make this very long. So what I do is I preheat my oven to 550 degrees. When it almost reaches temperature, I have a 9x13 that I have probably like between a quarter and a half a cup of oil, and I put it in there to heat up the oil. While the oven is preheating, I'm going to peel 10 potatoes, wash it to get rid of any dirt, and I take an onion, cut off the top and bottom, peel it, cut it into quarters. So I have nice wedges. Next thing I do is that I crack 6 eggs in a big bowl. I happen to use one of my bigger pots, so like a small stock pot. I use that as my bowl. Crack the eggs and whisk it up so that it's not just yolks and whites. Then I will take my food processor with a shredder blade and I run through the potatoes and the onions through the food processor. I usually alternate potatoes with the onions to stop the potatoes from browning. And I empty the food processor bowl halfway through because otherwise I maximize the volume in there and the juices will come flowing out, just from my experience. Depending on the size of your food processor bowl, it might happen, it might not. Once that is done, I will mix all of the potato egg mixture with the eggs and I will combine that. I will drizzle salt and white pepper over top of that mixture. On this day I didn't have any white pepper, so I used black pepper. It's just a matter of preference if you like seeing that black pepper in the kugel or not. At this point, my oil that I'm preheating in the oven should be ready. So I take that oil out and I drizzle it over top of the spices. For some reason I like it that way. You don't have to do that. You can do the salt and pepper before you start mixing in the eggs with the potato and onion mixture. Once you mix in the oil, you can pour all of that back into the 9x13 pan. It goes into the oven for an hour on 550 degrees. After an hour, lower the oven temperature to 350 and bake for an additional 30 minutes. So guys, this is everything that I made for the Shabbos. And now I have some quick shots for you of everything that we made. It's challah. The sourdough, I know that I didn't show you the process, but I've been doing it with sesame seeds lately over top. What I do is that when I shape it, I don't dust it with flour. I instead spray it with water and coat it with the sesame seeds. I let it ferment in the fridge like that, and then I bake it normally. And we got all of our dips here. I have the fish. I have our main platter, which has the jerky and the green beans and the potato kugel. And I'll also have the last thing for you. I have a shot of our apple tart, what it looks like. I treated myself Thursday night before I went to sleep after I finished cooking with some of that and a tea. So guys, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join me in the kitchen and make all of these delicious Shabbos food with me. If you enjoyed watching this video and you want to see more, consider hitting the subscribe button. And I hope to see you in the next one.